Can I get your name and where you're from, if you don't mind?
I'm Kai.
Kai, can I get the spelling for you?
Straight out of Dogtown, K-A-I.
Hola Chula! Thank you so much for clicking onto this video. And if you are new here, well then, hi, hello, my name is Kai. And if you're coming back to my channel, well then, tú ves hermosa. Here on my channel, I aim to share my experience as a person who has left the Jehovah's Witnesses organization and what it was like to grow up in a high-control Christian cult. I needed to put some distance between myself and this movie in order to be able to perceive it in a different light. In the initial reaction, I'm usually just cringing my brains out, and there's a lot of conversation that I end up cutting from the video. So this is all of the conversations that I wish we could have had in the moment, but simply just didn't have time for. You know how it is. And yeah, so welcome to part 4 of The Wife of Lot, the Aftershocks. If you're starting this series at this video, incorrect. Don't do that. Go back to the beginning, watch part 1, 2, 3, and then come watch part 4. Because only then will you be able to fully appreciate the journey that we have all been on. If you've made it to part 4 in this series, I think you deserve to do something nice for yourself, because this is a lot. The Wife of Lot is a propaganda drama released in 2017 by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, or better known as the Jehovah's Witnesses. The movie follows the story of Gloria and her family, her husband Brian, and her 2 daughters, Tina and Anna. And it tells the story of their life over the span of 2 years. There's a few aspects of Gloria's personality that are meant to be inferred by the audience. For instance, we can assume that Gloria is the descendant of an immigrant family. The film makes it fairly obvious that her family holds material goods and wealth and status in very high regard. So from there, we can assume that Gloria grew up with her mother instilling these values in her. And it's also not unrealistic to believe that a foreign-born family would come to a country like America to hopefully give their descendants a better opportunity. At some point in Gloria's life, she met a man named Brian who was studying to become an accountant. The way I see it, it seems like Gloria was interested in Brian initially because he seemed to be very ambitious and have values that closely aligned with hers. So she married him. And then later on, they became Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, I don't know if Brian grew up Jehovah's Witness. The film doesn't really give us too much information on his family and his upbringing. But all we know is that at some point, they're both in the Watchtower organization, and they have a family, and pretty much that was the death of any dreams that Gloria had, any ambitions that she might have had for her life, not necessarily because she was entering motherhood, but because she joined a deceitful cult that stifles literally every single member. Then Gloria becomes a full-time pioneer, a free laborer at Watchtower's disposal to go and preach and teach to the masses. And Brian was meant to be the sole provider of their family. And then suddenly his single income just wasn't cutting it. Or at least that's what the movie implies, but they never really show us being in financial hardship. And of course, Gloria has a mother, and her mother actually have a relatively close relationship, or at least have a stronger connection than you would typically expect for a Jehovah's Witness person to have with their non-Jehovah's Witness family. So Gloria's mother, Ruby, starts to put ideas in her daughter's head, saying that she needs to take her career and her finances more seriously so that she can prop up her own daughters to be successful in their future.
You need more money. Not super rich, but just enough to have what our relatives have. Or they'll look down on you.
Mom, we have enough money.
Maybe enough for today. But what if you get sick?
Mom, Please listen to me.
Okay, you're done. I can try.
Okay.
Hasn't Brian lost some of his clients lately? Now you have to take care of yourself. You know your uncle can help you find a good job in his real estate company.
Mom, Jehovah will take care of us as long as we trust in him.
You waste time on God, doing that pioneering thing. The time that you could use to make money. How would you have enough when you're old?
Mom, please listen to me.
What? An old lady can't give you some advice?
No, but we already talked about
But you
this so
never listen.
I listen.
Based on this scene, we can gather that this is likely not the first time that Gloria's mother and her have had this conversation. So why is it now that Gloria is being influenced to this extent by her mother's opinions? Because Brian was experiencing turmoil in his career, Gloria felt a deeper sense of insecurity that reminded her of her less than affluent childhood. Jehovah's Witnesses are taught to rely on God to fix all of the ails of their life, and they don't expect to have comfortable lives, and in fact they often take many measures to rid their lives of comfort. And this is seen to be righteous, but there is a staggering class separation between the very tippy top of the organization to the lowest status members of very meager means. It seems that Watchtower wants their members to live a simple life in order to be free to pursue spiritual endeavors, like learning to speak a new language in order to preach in new territories. But if an affluent and educated and skilled individual is deemed to be useful to the Watchtower organization, well, then that's just fine and dandy. And that person is going to be afforded further opportunities that would be kept from the lower status members who chose to live the holy life. They chose to live the life that you told them that they should have. It's a strange dichotomy that exists within the Watchtower culture that I never understood the significance of. Members are under the impression that their organization is funded by their donations. Doesn't it ever hurt to have the governing body members the helpers to the governing body? Doesn't it hurt to have them constantly throwing their material excess in your face when you're the very reason why they were able to afford that? If it were me, I would like to see some receipts. But it's not that far of a reach to assume that Gloria was feeling an extraordinary amount of stress due to her newfound circumstances. Therefore, she was feeling very uncertain and suggestible, and perhaps even malleable in a way. Isn't that exactly where a cult would like to have you? Uncertain, suggestible, and malleable? So portraying Gloria in a very similar way, but have her be influenced by her mother's worldly opinions rather than Watchtower's doctrine. It seems to me as a projection on Watchtower's part onto non-believing family members that you might have. So of course Watchtower doesn't want you to be influenced by these people, so they try to paint them as being stumbling blocks in your spiritual journey. This is another way that they can isolate you. There's also many references to racial and ethnic stereotypes throughout this movie. I myself am not an Asian American, and therefore I do not have any first-hand experiences when it comes to the discrimination that they face in media and even still today in our society. And in these cases, I think it's always best to defer to someone else's first-hand experience rather than rely on your own tertiary knowledge of the subject. This is an article that explores Southeast Asian Americans' stereotypes and portrayals in media and television. Often overt, sometimes covert, the tropes have taken several forms, but all are filled with exoticism and otherness. Some cliches contradict others. The inability to speak English without an accent or using pidgin doesn't get in the way of being highly intelligent in the form of mystically wise, criminally clever, or geeky. Women can be dragon ladies, China dolls, or tiger moms. Men are too often either seen as emasculated or lecherous or both. In another article, it says that the most influential and pervasive stereotype for Asian Americans today is the seemingly positive stereotype called the model minority. It is, however, inseparable from the yellow peril, which is a negative stereotype, where Asians are stereotypically represented in mainstream media. I will have those articles linked in the description down below if you would like to further educate yourself on this matter. Historically, Asians, specifically East Asian Americans, have been characterized in media to be portrayed as opportunistic and ambitious, earning them the label the model minority. Asian mothers are portrayed to be demanding and pushy and overbearing. Maybe most notably so in the scene where Gloria reprimands her daughter Tina for accepting her older daughter's hand-me-down shoes. When I first saw that scene, I wasn't really sure why or where that even came from, but then it dawned upon me. It very well might be that Gloria sees her daughter accepting these shoes as a symbol of her accepting a lower status in life, and that is something that she just simply wants to avoid, because what was all the hard work for at the end of the day if it wasn't to give her daughters a better life than she had? And I can't say that that's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, it's just a thing that exists. But where it gets really messy for me is when we get into these secondary characters, such as Gloria's brother, her uncle, and her mother. These characters were written with no kind of nuance, no kind of transparency, and these tropes are used almost to their full extent, at least in my opinion.
You have no sons, so they are your most important investment. You have to get them into good jobs. You see? That's the only way to survive. Your girls need to get big money jobs.
Risk money to make money. Don't you understand that?
Even if there weren't any risk involved, I can't accept a job offer that's going to take so much of my time and money.
Brian, I don't get it. All you do is sacrifice a little time for a couple of years, and you'd have all the money you need.
Do not forget, it's not just your hard work that has given you all this. Because the way you live reflects on me. You must serve my company and work hard for me. Will you disgrace me here in front of everyone?
They're all blatantly materialistic, overly concerned with other people's business, and demanding of Gloria's loyalty. Sounds like someone we know. And again, all of this is just speculation on my part, but based on what we read in these articles, stuff just feels kind of fishy. You know, it's just a little interesting. It's important to address these reductive characterizations when and where appropriate. As I said before, I will never have to face the discrimination that an Asian American person might face in this society. And therefore, as a bystander, I feel compelled to call out Watchtower's portrayal of Asian heritage. Or maybe it's all just some thoughtless coincidence, but in my opinion, that isn't likely. Something I do feel confident to talk about is the portrayal of Hispanic American heritage in this movie. The B part centers around Brian's mechanic, Joe, and Brian had been secretly plotting, waiting for the perfect time to witness to his mechanic, and eventually he convinced him to start a Bible study. Now, at the beginning of the movie, Joe is portrayed as the typical macho, machismo man, Latin American man. He's very loud, he's very boisterous, and he's very angry, very hot-tempered.
It says that working with your hands, that's good work too. Just as long as you're honest.
I'm telling you, man, nobody's honest today, man. Not even my suppliers. If I had it my way, I'd take those guys and I'd give them what they deserve. I can't help it, man. I was born angry.
We have to make our minds over. We have to put on the new personality.
New personality? I can't be somebody I'm not, man. That was the old Joe, Frank. Hey! What did I just say?
The movie lays it out clearly that Joe and his family are working class Hispanic Americans, and they have a lower social status than Brian and his family. His wife Maria is portrayed to be the loud and fiery and opinionated Latina woman. She even hits her own son with a wooden spoon, like, Oh, and of course, their family is Catholic. Because what else would they be? At some point, Joe even says that his favorite food is tacos.
Oh, tacos.
Which, yeah, tacos are great. They're amazing. They taste delicious. But I also feel like that is the most Americanized and whitewashed food, like traditional Mexican dish that exists. I just feel like that's very surface level and also very lazy. Just because everyone else is doing it, Watchtower, doesn't make it okay when you do it. Culture is a strong secondary theme throughout The Wife of Lot, and I think it's interesting because Jehovah's Witnesses are required to an extent to sacrifice many aspects of their identity, their culture, in order to conform to the Watchtower culture. Take for instance the scene where Gloria and Brian are explaining to Joe and Mary that becoming a Jehovah's Witness doesn't mean that you can't enjoy any aspect of your culture. I mean, you can still have your tacos and you can still have your music. It's more ridding yourself of the traditions that might be very deeply held in your culture, but aren't necessarily on brand with Watchtower. And Gloria was even belittling her own mother for preparing food for her dead ancestors, which is a practice that means a lot to her in her culture. And Maria straight up says, "Oh, I would never do that."
We'll still enjoy our traditional food, music, and clothes, and so many other things.
We just avoid the parts that God disapproves of.
Like what? Well, for example, my mother still prepares food to offer to our dead ancestors on special days.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't think I would ever do that.
As if Dia de los Muertos does not exist. It's a very similar celebration. Perhaps Watchtower was truly unaware of this deeply beloved tradition that is significant in nearly every Latin culture. Oopsie. The way I see it is that Gloria and Brian are at Joe and Mary's house trying to put the best face on their beliefs, because what's the point of teaching someone if you don't want them to join your organization? And it got me to thinking that a lot of these scenes where we see someone witnessing or preaching to someone, it sounds so strangely like an ad read. Almost like Watchtower wants me to know that AstraZeneca might be able to help.
Well, please be sure to read it and also check out our website. They have...
Can I just take one of these?
Yes, please do. Please be sure to visit our website for more information. Please be sure to visit our website for more information.
As Jehovah's Witnesses, we like to meet people from different backgrounds and cultures.
Try to follow Bible principles as much as we
Mary.
can.
But I think you could also take that as a blueprint for how you are supposed to be out here preaching and teaching. Submissive, demure, and advertiser friendly. And without getting too much into the weeds here, I do think it's interesting that the sign on Brian and Gloria's cart says the key to having a happy family life. When throughout the movie, Gloria's family life is all but disintegrated by her pursuit to give them a better life. In my opinion, all of Gloria's actions were appropriate and warranted. She was raised differently than her husband. She came from a family that had different values. She wants to do well for her children, and that's not an evil pursuit. And yes, over the course of the movie, Gloria's noble endeavors slowly morph into a spirit of materialism, which is, as you know, just the absolute worst thing that you could be as a human person. And at every single turn, Brian stifles Gloria's potential by insisting that she doesn't need to work. It's okay, we're doing just fine, we don't need the extra money. But it's only because he is challenged at the thought of her becoming the breadwinner of the family. In several instances, Brian acts in such a way that could even be characterized as abusive. Not necessarily physically abusive, but certainly mentally and financially. And that's funny because throughout this whole movie, Brian is seen as the victim. All of these things are happening to Brian and to a lesser extent Tina, but they're happening to Brian. And I'm sorry, I just don't think that it's realistic that in 2 years, Brian never once benefited from having a more comfortable life, from having more money, more financial security. I would give my left kidney for that. And Brian is so quick to be manipulative and desperate once he sees that his power is diminishing within his marriage. But Brian is so genuinely caught up in this belief that the only worthy pursuit in life is Watchtower, being a Jehovah's Witness. So much so that he actually refuses to associate with his extended family, his non-believing family, unless it is for the express purpose of talking about Watchtower with them. And all that does is just further isolate his wife and his daughters and remove even more aspects of their identity. Anna and Tina sort of play minor roles. I mean, Tina doesn't really do anything other than be judgmental and ungrateful.
We might give up this place.
Finally. I never liked this place anyway. Can we at least keep the new piano? Only if we do something about your hair first.
Again, you're telling me that not once in 2 years you never benefited from your mom having more money all of a sudden? Yeah. Okay. Halfway through the movie, we do see that Anna is changing alongside Gloria and developing a relationship with the world. Anna starts wearing makeup and leather jackets and bleaches her hair, and that is to be taken as a sign that she is being changed by the worldly people that she's interacting with on a day-to-day basis, because she accepted an internship program that put her in that position and took her attention away from serving the organization. In terms of appearance, the jewelry that Gloria wears gets progressively more gaudy and more expensive looking the further that she falls down this wrong path. We see a selfishness in her character that wasn't previously present in this scene where she's mocking her mom for having a medical condition and suggesting that perhaps one day she should move in with her family. Where did that come from? And then also, that storyline never went anywhere. It literally was just like dead in the water. They brought it up and then they just, that was it. I think they forgot. It's like, oh my god. What I think is really going on is that Watchtower wants you to know that if you are poor, you are righteous. And Jehovah will bless you some way, somehow, financially for your dedication to him. We're told that Joe was experiencing financial difficulties before he became a Jehovah's Witness. And then, some way, somehow, by the time he was ready to get baptized, all of his money troubles seemed to just be gone. Dashed, vanished. And in fact, he was even talking to Brother Williams about how he felt that he had more money now. So, if God blesses you financially based on devotion, as we're being told, then why were Gloria and Brian ever even dealing with financial difficulty in the first place? Because it seems like they were living a very dedicated and faithful life. It seems like their whole ass life was centered around being Jehovah's Witnesses. It just seems inconsistent. That's all I'm seeing. The wife of Lot was made to keep current witnesses entertained and to let them know that seeking comfort in life is wrong. And I'm sure that it did just that, regardless of how over the top everything was. I always think of these movies as an example of what you should do with your life. Prioritize your happiness, your success. Push yourself to give your family a better life. I mean, what's the big deal here, folks? Tonight's main event, the award ceremony. The award for most unutilized character goes to Arthur. He was in like 3 scenes. He had like 6 lines. Who is he? And the award for the worst friend ever goes to Brother Lee Williams.
Where's Gloria going? Is she okay? True happiness, Brian, joy, it's spiritual. You can't satisfy spiritual needs with material things. Now you know, Brian, Jehovah God cannot bless a decision if it is not in harmony with his will. I think I'd get lost in this big apartment. You know, the other day in field service, we passed by your old house. I like that place. Is Anna here?
Oh, she's with Kevin.
Kevin? Kevin who? We're not gonna give up on your sister. I finally found a far better career and something more important.
Do you ever really regret the decision you made to, leave your career and start pioneering?
Absolutely not. My only regret is that I hadn't started sooner.
He is the worst. Oh my god. Talk about the worst advice ever. Passive aggressive and cold. And when he first met Joe and Mary, he was like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then after they got baptized, he was like, okay, yeah, And to me, it's kind of fake. Kind of makes you the worst friend ever. And the award for most fashionable character goes to Miss Gloria, obviously.
I had some nice calls over on the east side of town.
Would you like the crystal gel today?
It's okay. It's too expensive. Mom, Jehovah will take care of us. Still enjoy our traditional food, music, and clothes, and so many other things. Well, for example, my mother still prepares food to offer to our dead ancestors on special days. Hey girls, you know what I always told you? You need to marry someone with the same standard as ours. You have to consider their family background and parents' career. Never. Your grandma had to wear her sister's shoes and they had holes in them. Mom, she was so ashamed. I made up my mind to make a lot of money so no one would ever see me borrow clothes. And you're not going to borrow it either. Can you guys walk any faster? I don't want to miss my TV show.
Those men are so funny.
Mom, they're a gay couple.
So?
A year ago, that shocked you? Mom? I'm starting school tomorrow.
School? You?
I'm going to real estate classes. If you made more money, I wouldn't have to. Do you have cash? I need it for a taxi. You can't be successful by working less.
Things. What about your pioneering?
What about it? I can do both.
Impressive. You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Tina, over here. What are you doing? I love to talk to you, but I have an appointment.
Brother Williams likes the old place.
Seems like he likes here too. Yeah, my assistant Marty, I recently found out that he's gay. But as I explained to you before, when I became one of Jehovah's Witnesses, spiritual things also became very important to me. That's why I have this pain. Oh, she wants to move in with us. Yeah. You can't just quit like this. I want you to have a comfortable life so that you don't need to worry about money. You have to be successful with a secure job, and it will help you to pioneer. If you put your career first like I've been doing, there's very little left for Jehovah. This is most important to me. Jehovah is most important to me. Please understand.
And I'm also giving her the award for the most classist character in this movie because she definitely did not want either of her daughters marrying either of Joe and Mary's sons because they are a lower status, working class family. Such a bad look for someone who was serving many looks. The award for the character who got done dirty the worst is Marty! Gloria's gay assistant, who was so gay that he didn't even deserve to have a face. And that really got to me. I was like, why wouldn't they show his face? And I think it's because they didn't want to have a brother that you could identify portraying a gay man, even if it is in a movie for like a collective minute and a half. That is so fragile. The award for worst costume design goes to Ricky. because I really think that they just drew on his goatee. I really think that. And this is actually gonna lead me right into the award for the most ungrateful which goes to Tina. Oh, Tina. And what's interesting about Tina and Ricky is that at the very beginning of the movie, Anna tells Tina that she kind of has a little crush on Ricky. But then later, after Ricky got baptized, he comes up to Tina and they start talking, and then it's coded that because Ricky's such a spiritual guy and Tina's such a spiritual girl that they should obviously just be together. The timeline, in my opinion, is kind of fuzzy because this movie is supposed to take place over the course of 2 years. But at the very beginning of the movie, they said that Arthur and Ricky were the same age as Tina and Anna. Anna was like 17 or 18 and Tina was like 15 or 16. If she was a 15-year-old girl, 2 years later she'd still be a 17-year-old girl and Ricky would be a 20-year-old man. So no, I don't think it's nice that they're interested in each other, and I don't think it's okay that Brother Williams went out of his way to try to set them up together either. The award for greatest disappointment goes to Anna.
These kids are on my team and they understand what I'm working on. The brothers don't. It's way over their heads. I'm just so ashamed of myself.
I want to be a success. But I want to be a success in Jehovah's eyes.
Who was given a really amazing opportunity and she just threw it away to serve Jehovah God. Anna, in a way, is a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. There are so many people who put off higher education opportunities, career opportunities, just opportunities in general to like have different experiences than what Watchtower tells you you're allowed to have. There's so many people who have deferred their own happiness in order to serve God more faithfully. Anna could have taken that position and made her entire life, made her whole career right there from honestly like probably a once in a lifetime opportunity. And then she just gave it up. She just threw it away to be a pioneer. To each their own. Our last award for the evening, the one you've all been waiting for. The award for biggest dickhead goes to Brian.
Gloria, we have enough. Give me that look when I said that girls wanted to be in full-time service. Has your mom been talking to you about this again? Okay, but she didn't know Jehovah. We do. Shouldn't we be encouraging our girls to serve him full-time? Okay, but what comes first, work or Jehovah? Should we be pushing Anna and Tina to succeed in this system? Okay, this is not a last days question. Okay, it's always been wrong to strive to be rich. That's exactly the opposite of what the Bible says. Sweet is the sleep of the one serving. Just in case what? In case Jesus was wrong? Why should they miss any meetings?
He's convinced, and we're all convinced. We'll see her again in the new world. Gloria, Jesus said to exert yourself to get in through the narrow door, not to serve two masters.
Why are you all dressed up like this? Are you going out in service?
I'm going to real estate classes.
What? We didn't talk about this. Why?
If you made more money, I wouldn't have to.
We've never gone without. Gloria, wait. What is all of this? But Gloria, I thought you were doing this just to get a little extra income for our necessities. How much time are you planning to spend on this? We have a very full schedule with our spiritual routine. We have to make sacrifices for what's most important in life. You know that. This new job, I'm worried. It may mean sacrificing time we should be spending on spiritual things. What about your pioneering?
Brother Williams likes the old place.
Come here. Anna, you missed dinner with Brother Williams tonight. And your friend from the North congregation, she came too. What happened? Anna, I was trying to do something spiritually encouraging for the family. We're worried about you, honey. No big deal. Anna, first of all, you know only God's kingdom will solve our problems. These kids and your work, it's getting in the way of what's most important. Anna, don't you see they're changing you? Okay, we live by the Bible's moral standards. We believe there are standards of right and wrong that we should live by. If we go against his standards, we end up hurting ourselves. He just wants what's best for us. So this is our Anna's association. Our Anna believes them.
My life, my family, my...
Man, I gotta go. Why did you arrange this without telling me? But none of them are in the truth. They're only here to socialize. They're not here to talk about Jehovah. As I've explained before, when we became witnesses, there are just certain practices we don't want to compromise on. Next visit is the 3rd week of March. That's the same week of the memorial. So make sure you put that in your calendar. The day of the memorial. Okay, you better make sure that he can handle that. What were you and Uncle talking about on the balcony tonight? We have made sacrifices. All the wrong ones. You've even had to quit pioneering. We're neglecting family worship, study, service. We've even become too busy, or maybe too ashamed to even pray together. Gloria, we don't want this place if it takes us or you away from Jehovah, putting Jehovah ahead of everything else.
Oh my god. What do you say about Brian that I really haven't already said? If it were me, we would have been divorced for like 10 years and I would have gotten remarried to our pool boy. Like, please enjoy our musical guest as we close tonight's program. That really about wraps up our retrospective on the wife of Lot. There's many things to say, probably could talk about it forever, but I am choosing to prioritize my own happiness and not do that to myself. But yeah, that was just my thoughts, just my opinion, and just my video. So if you like this video, then you can leave it a like. And if you like me, well then you can subscribe to this channel where I will be talking about whatever I want, whenever I want, because this is my channel and that's what we do here, baby. So subscribe. And as always, chulas, I hope that you are having a beautiful, wonderful, amazing rest of your day.